Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Surya Pastricha, and in today's video we are going to talk to Namya Joshi, who is a Microsoft Minecraft wizard and is also a global educator imparting lessons to students as well as teachers from all across the globe. She is also a Dyna Award recipient and a TEDx speaker and has worked immensely in the areas of game-based learning. In this episode, we will be talking about her journey from being a student in school to meeting the CEO of Microsoft, game-based learning and education technology. This episode would not only inspire you to work hard and dream big, but will also enhance your knowledge and spark your curiosity towards game-based learning and education technology. I promise you there's a lot to learn from this video, and without any further ado, let's just jump right in and hear out from Namya. Welcome to the podcast, Namya. Thank you so much for joining us. It is really a pleasure hosting you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm great as well, Namya. I'm absolutely in awe with your creativity and the work you are doing by leveraging Minecraft to deliver educational experiences. It is really interesting for me. Can you tell us how it all started and your inspiration and learnings along the way?
Sure. So for me, it started during an unplanned interaction with my teacher, and my interest towards Minecraft developed then. And I had heard that this game is used for gaming, but when I got an opportunity to conduct a workshop in my school to introduce something about Minecraft, I realized that it can be used for serious education also. And I think that is what motivated me. And also, I would say that my fellow mates also faced various problems while understanding the concepts, as it was just mere text and there was nothing to do about visual learning. But I think that visual learning is the best way to clear all our concepts. So that's how I started creating various lessons in Minecraft. And then I worked in collaboration with Finland for a Christmas collaboration, and wherein I was acknowledged to create a jingle in Minecraft. And then I started teaching teachers all over the world using game based learning in the classes and creating course material in Minecraft. Also, later I got a chance to meet my fellow students in Finland, where I was invited as a keynote speaker at Kiosk 2019 event, wherein I was fortunate enough to teach various professors, educators, and experts of the university. And besides that, I also feel proud that I have trained 1,000 plus teachers and students across the globe. And I believe and I think that they're further training more. So I also feel happy that I'm the winner of the UNESCO Worldwide Youth Multimedia Competition, a Rex Karamveer Bronze Medal awardee, Global Innovation Award winner, youngest global juror, and I'm also an SDG for Children Ambassador in my country, and also being a Teach SDGs Ambassador. And for that, I've also spoken at various platforms like at UNESCO, Convoke, Asia Berlin Summit, Adobe Education Summit, and I speak on the power of STEM and game-based learning. So that's how I started, and that's what I'm doing right now.
I mean, your journey is really inspirational, and I'm very sure that it must have taken a lot of hard work and determination to reach where you are today. So, now talking about education, especially through Minecraft and games, what according to you makes Minecraft unique and special when it comes to comparing it with other games, and can other games in some sort of way be modified to deliver similar educational outcomes like Minecraft is supposed to do?
So I would say that my love for game-based learning is infinite. And well, that just started when I was in the fifth grade. I used to notice that I mentioned before that grasping the concepts through books isn't that easy for many children. So that's how I created my first lesson, that was the Egyptian civilization. And I instantly saw the difference that the concepts became easier. And I've always loved to play different games, like you said, if any other game could be used. And I think Minecraft is used to provide beneficial solutions to enhance the education environment, but I've never believed that to restrict myself only to Minecraft. Many educational tools can be used to provide the game based solutions in the classes. be it like even if there's a game like Fortnite. So we have a creative version of that, like Fortnite Creative. So people are using that to explain like Rube Goldberg machines and how the simple machines concept can be taught with that, and so on. I wouldn't take like the names of any game. It can be like any. It doesn't has to be Minecraft, and it doesn't even have to be a game to understand, because I felt that game learning is very easy for people to understand the concepts, and that also makes a person more interested. But if you're using some visual concepts and the child is able to understand with that, you should go for it. And I must say that I have never restricted myself. I am also using other tools barring Minecraft for engaging students, and I think that the visual learning and the game based learning is very vital in the education system, because first, it helps in better engagement, and I feel that it also helps a child to become curious, inquisitive, and also passionate to innovate new things, communicate, and collaborate with other people in the environment. And with game-based learning, the points becomes very clear to understand. So I think it is very important. And most importantly, when we come to playing, I think play matters a lot, be it indoor, outdoor, or even online, because it teaches you not only the concepts but also the skills that we require in our daily life, because everything is not just about studying but also acquiring the skill based learning that we require in the future.
Yeah, essentially, I also did, this course from Wharton Online. So it was about gamification. So wherein I basically learned about points, badges, and leaderboards. So basically, I explored the usage of points, badges, and leaderboards in the marketing context. So,
Yeah.
using that particular concept in education is somewhat really interesting. And also, there have been a lot of developments in technology like the deployment of AI, deep learning, virtual reality, which enables education not only to be more personalized but also engaging and fun. So what is your opinion on, like, how do you foresee the role of technology in reimagining the future of education?
So, like you talked about AI and all, so I think overall the virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence, if I say the correct term, are very useful and important tools for the physical or virtual classroom, as they can provide like a more immersive and interactive experience, no matter whatever subject is being taught, no matter like if you're not even studying, that can engage students and they can educate students more efficiently, and as if like they're in a real world situation. And the AR and VR technology in education bring about like an artificial computer generated world that the students can easily experience and they can interact with it. So like I'm studying about dinosaurs, so I'm having the AR VR set and I'm able to see a dinosaur in front of me. Now if I would have that in front of a book, like I don't know, I don't understand, the dinosaur used to look like this, but where's the proof? So I got my VR headsets and now I can see it's standing in front of me. So in turn, I think it allows to have an easy effective transfer of information to students, and furthermore, having an interactive learning experience can bring a whole new world of exciting learning opportunities for students. And this gives students more ways to learn, not just being on one way, but we have different ways where you can go to learn with the potential to enhance the learning experience. And if I have, during this COVID-19 only, I've been to Finland once in 2019, but I've traveled to Finland during this year with the help of AR. And that was done like remotely with the help of an app called AltSpace. And also using AI, we have MergeCube that can help the explanation of a heart, the structure of a heart or a brain for the people who cannot use the AR VR headsets. So we have like merge cubes, which are probably you can print those and you can make a form of a cube out of that, and then you put it in your hand and you can see like probably a dinosaur itself in your hand. So I think that's how AI and VR and also the technology can shape the future.
And that is really, a curious way to look at it. And also, there have been concerns where parents these days have started, facing a lot of anxiety, especially because children have, started spending more time on their mobile phones, playing games. So there is this question which comes to my mind, that is about how can we as educators ensure that students are actually learning through Minecraft or some other sort of games which you just mentioned, not just playing them for having fun. So how do we like ensure that people that students are really learning through these game based activities?
Yeah. So talking about Minecraft, now I can say that if the students doesn't want to, like, I in our school, it is being used in all parts of the curriculum, be it in the introduction. So it is not like the student is, you have to aware them about it, and you have to spread awareness, and they would not come to know on their own that this game is used for education. The first step is being taken by the educators to show them about the game and to show a lesson to them wherein they become interested. It is not like they give them, okay, you have Minecraft, start playing. How would they understand that this is a game which is supposed to be learned for education? Even if it is the educational edition and there's no educational word in it to explain, the child would not understand. That's where the educator's role comes in, which is very important for us students, that they show us a world. Like, I can take an example of a chapter that I've recently studied in grade 9, like motion in one dimension in physics. So our teacher explained the introduction about it, that what happens to these quantities and what are we supposed to do when we have this thing that happens. And I wouldn't go into the details because some of you might not be knowing about that, so it is just for introduction about the concept. And then if I come to the detailing, that's wherein, like, I can talk about the biology chapter cell. So this is this is the what you can say about the diagram of an animal cell. It contains these things. This is a diagram of a plant cell. It contains these things. So what do you think is the difference between these? Now, I cannot ask, like, teacher cannot ask us by not showing us anything. She's showing us the world with the two things built there. And when I'm able to see, I understand. And that's wherein I'm learning. And I'm also playing. Now, one of my favorite is where we have like evaluation with Minecraft. That's when the teacher gives them the Minecraft accounts. She says that, okay, build whatever you've learned. Now, that's when the child is not only playing, but he's also learning and re-going through all the things that he had learned. So if the child is using the game in a positive way, that's when you can learn more. And I would not say that you should stop playing games. It is good to play sometimes, and not even sometimes you can play, but you should manage your time effectively for that. First, do your work, and then when you have to play games, go for it. Because to being truthful, I do play games with my brother when we're doing survival gaming, but I make sure that I'm done with my work first. And I do not play every day, like special days assigned, like on the weekends. You can play, but just don't unvalue the things which are important. That's what I would like to say.
That's really amazing. And, I remember when I was in school, I used to, by heart or ratify some concepts which were, taught to me, especially in science and maths. So did you face the same sort of problem, and did that in some sort of way inspire you to, continue your journey with Minecraft or start your journey with Minecraft?
I would like to mention this thing that my biology teacher, she says that you have been put this in the brain, that biology and science is rectification. Because like when I was in the fifth grade, my seniors used to say, when you'll come in the next classes, you'll see it is so easy right now. When you'll come, you'll know what rectification is. I came in the sixth grade. I did not face any problems because it is mostly about listening carefully, and many of the students do not do that. That's when I think I could say that was a ray of hope. To, yeah, I think we need to have an education. We need to have a change in the education that is being held right now, because I wanted to take this thing out of the mind that science is ratification, maths is ratification. That's how I started, like, even building my first lessons, the early ones with Minecraft. So in chemistry, I took up like the states of matter. Even that is like the easiest chapter, but I feel like many students don't understand that, even like who are not interested in that. So that's wherein it comes to visual learning, and I think that helped me, and that thought motivated me to come forward to it. And I have never felt that it is gratification, because I love to learn these things, because that helped me to enhance my knowledge. but we can't think from one person's perspective because everybody learns differently. So we need to have different modes of learning. And I think that's what had me make Minecraft Worlds, to make the people come into visual learning with having like the concepts clear rather than ratification.
Since you talked about, the changing educational paradigm, so I see in some sort of way that, our education is progressing a long way, especially since the new national education policy, which has been recently formulated. So what
Yeah.
do you think about that policy in terms of, revitalizing the education landscape, especially since it lays a lot of emphasis not only on skill-based learning and technology, but also on, replacing the existing rote-based learning which is happening in schools today.
Yeah, so I think this will be very fruitful for the upcoming years, wherein we have like practical learning, there'll be less dropouts, because I think one of the reason of dropouts is the students do not like to study, because the way we used to learn in the earlier years wasn't very understandable by us. And I think coming up, we'll be having training program for the teachers. That is what I've read in the NEP. We'll also be having teachers equipped with proper skills, and there'll be, most importantly, equity education for all. Because though we see that the government is taking up the measures of having all the students to come up in schools from the age of 6 to 14, but most importantly is why they don't go. And the government is taking up the measures, but I think it is also our responsibility. That's why we have it in the fundamental duty that all the parents must send students to school. And I think that will be a very important thing wherein we have equity education for all, and where we have proper resources are provided. There'll be, I think, increase, and instead in, I think I would must say that there'll be focus on the quality of the education instead of the quantity. It's not like, okay, we did two chapters today, and something that came in my mind is I don't understand anything. But the other thing will be we did one chapter today, I understood everything because the quality was good. And I think there also be stress on the vocational learning with the integration of the technology. So I truly think that this will be a fruitful for upcoming years.
That's really a great take on this particular topic. And last year I was doing a similar sort of internship at the Stockholm School of Economics, wherein I was examining the impact of COVID-19 on the Sustainable Development Goals. And what I came across is that there has been a devastating impact of COVID-19, especially on quality education in schools and universities, as well as on education inequality. And there has been a massive dent in the equal education to all paradigm, and especially in developing countries like ours, like India, there has been an increasing precedence of gender inequality in low income households where
Yeah.
parents can't afford more devices. So they have these many kids in their homes, but they can't afford so many devices for educating each of those children, because essentially through one device you can educate a single child. So what do you think about remote learning in the future in regards to achieving the sustainable development goal 4, which is basically about quality and equal education to all? And what do you think can be done better to address this issue?
Well, I think if we come to the upcoming then education that we'll have, I'll come to that topic also where you talk about what can be done. First, I would think that I think hybrid learning is now what is going to be the future. As the pandemic has taught us that how we can teach remotely using online classes, exams, conferences, summer camps. And I've also been conducting like my classes using Skype or Teams, and this scenario, I think that has come to more collaboration and more to online. So I think in the future we'll have a hybrid model where like we'll be having half students sitting from the home and also in the school. And also there'll be proper digital engagement for the students. It'll be more than a quick fix. And SDG4, I think we can do as many things as we want to do it, but the main thing that we have to do is no discrimination based on caste, gender, or age. That's wherein we have right to equity education. And talking about like the devices problem, So I think we can have the people providing it, and also as the situation gets better, like I said, hybrid learning is what can help us. But I would say that that is like the problem of the people that we are facing. The problem that we're facing is because people were left jobless. They did not have the jobs, and that's what happened, that they could not afford these things. So that's wherein like this people have started programs wherein they maintain proper sanitation and proper things for precautions for COVID, wherein they wear the masks and they like bring 5 6 children at a time and teach them. So I think those things can be done, wherein we provide free tutorials, and most importantly I think is YouTube, because people are also putting that on YouTube, wherein because everybody has the privilege to get YouTube because everybody has a phone. So people can view it on YouTube, but I just hope that situation gets better, wherein this hybrid model can help us to come forward. And most importantly, the SDG4 can only be achieved when we treat all as one. And we think that we have to go through the situation by thinking as me, by thinking as we, and not me.
That's really, a very good thought. Like thinking about not only thinking about yourself, but thinking about others as well. And there has recently been an increasing penetration of the internet in the entire country, and we are moving to this
True.
new 5G era. So I think things would get much better then, because the prices for the mobile phones or devices would go down significantly, and that would motivate people to buy more mobile phones, and that
Right.
ultimately solve that gap which the not so privileged people are facing today in terms of education. So
Yes.
I think we still have a long way to go. And
Yeah.
now let's just move on to some fun questions now, especially since we have talked so much about Minecraft, game-based learning, technology, sustainable development goals, national education policy, and all of that. So you recently met Mr. Satya Nadella and Mr. Ranjit Desale. So the how was that experience for you?
So I met Mr. Satya Nadella in February 2020, and I think that was a surreal feeling for me. I was invited as the Young Innovator Summit, and I would say I was on a cloud nine when I shook hands with him, and he appreciated me on whatever I was doing to empower others. And I truly resonate on his thoughts that we should be passionate towards others, at the same time empathetic and have compassion to them. So it was a great feeling. And I've met Mr. Ranjit Desale in 2019, the Microsoft Edu Days. And I in 2020, like I've met him several times before that. So I had taken a podcast with him for my own podcast, Each One Teach 10. So when he got the Global Teacher Prize, I was very happy because he put our country on the mark. And I was very proud that in a teacher from India who is doing such great things for the unprivileged girls by using the coding methods and using the scanning. So I think it's a great feeling to meet him as well. And there's a lot to learn from both these personalities.
That's great, and it is really great for me to know that you have your own podcast as well. Since I also started this podcast like last month only. So
Okay.
yeah, so how did your podcast come about, and what all did you learn from that journey?
So I started my podcast, like my first episode was released on 14th May, 14th November 2020. Yeah, that was on Children's Day. So I learned about podcasting during the COVID time only, where I was learning. So I thought of like, why not releasing my first episode? And I have this nature, like I do not delay things. When I start, I plan, design, and then finally execute it. So, like I said, my podcast name is Each One Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM. So, which is like an inspiring venture where we discuss that STEM is part of every day for every kid. And I believe like it doesn't matter what subject you are or what grade you're being taught, STEM can be used in all classrooms and at every home, including game based learning and the technology that we're having these days. And my wonderful guests also believe that STEM can enable the educators to give students opportunities where they can learn and also take charge of the learning. And right now, I've done 18 episodes and I'll be posting more soon. You can hear it on like my YouTube channel, Technocrat NJ. Also, they're on different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm/Vandanamya, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Podcasts, and many more. So I think it's not just an interview, but I get to learn so many things as well. And that's the motive of my podcast, where everybody can learn from the learned people, wherein I can also improve myself.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting is a great medium to learn because you get to interact with so many people from all across the globe. So it really,
Right.
fills you to the brim and helps you explore more ideas, more thoughts. And it also helps you reflect on yourself and introspect of what
Yeah.
can do further in your career and what you can improve. So that's, a really good way to, learn so many new things and also build those relationships with people. So that is really very fruitful, and I'm sure, and I'm also sure that you must have had, some role models and amazing mentors which have helped you reach where you are today. And you also must be having some really ambitious plans for the future. Can you tell us a bit about those? And do you have any book recommendations which you can suggest to our listeners, especially to the young learners?
Yes. So I think support from our family or friends is very pivotal to follow any passion. So for me, my role model is my family in different ways. So my mother, I have learned like a never give up attitude from her and stay grounded. And my father, he says to keep on innovating, and even on my own creation, there's never stopped learning. And he gives priority to my projects, even though he has his own important work. My grandfather, who listens to me and my endless talks and teaches me maths. My grandmother, she cooks delicious food for me, even though when she's tired. And that's what made me learn that you should keep on working hard, and then you get the desired result in the end. And I also must say that my principal, Mr. Bhupender Gogia, who inspires and motivates me a lot, my school, Satpal Mittal, and I'm a proud Satin because my school has groomed me a lot. So all these factors and all these role models here motivate me, and they've created a positive environment around me so that I can keep on moving. And talking about the future plans, I would like to be a social entrepreneur, as I've also started my own startup right now, like that is Each One Takes and merchandise. So basically, I have only shirts for now. When I sell those shirts, and the most of that goes to charity for the NGOs. First of all, it goes for the animal care, and second, it goes for planting trees. And I'll be getting more things in it soon. So, talking about the future, I would like to start my own startup to create an educational gaming platform wherein we have the education systems of the entire world on one platform, wherein people can get access to the gamified content. And like you talked about the book recommendations, so I love reading like fiction and non-fiction also. So talking about fiction, I've read Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, but lately I just finished a book that's non-fiction, and it is called Ikagai. It is a Japanese book, and it is all about discovering the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. It is like you might have seen the diagram of the Ikagai, like your passion, what you love, mission, what the world needs, and I think it had vocation, what you can be paid for, and profession, what you're good at. So the Japanese people believe that everyone has an Ikagai, that is the reason to get up every day, to jump out of the bed every morning. So it is very inspiring and comforting, and it'll give you life-changing tools to uncover your own Ikagai, and it'll also give you like an urgency, and tell you that you should find your passion. And it is not like you read it today and tomorrow I'm going to get my passion. It'll slowly come to you, and you'll know what you're passionate.
That's really interesting. And, I really love this book called Sapiens. I have not read Ikagai as of now, but I've heard a lot about it. But I'm reading this book, Sapiens, and it is really interesting because it tells me about how, the human race evolved into what we are today. So that is really, interesting for me. And Also, I'm also very passionate about education, so I do a lot of volunteering work in education where I go and teach the underprivileged kids, not through technology but in person. So
Yeah.
I also want to build an edtech startup later in my future, and I'm really passionate about it. So
Right.
yeah, and I was wondering if you have any recommendations, especially for students and future educators, like how can they learn better and how can they use these gamified learning systems to, find their own interests in like science or maths or maybe history. So how can they do that? And do you have any recommendations?
So I must say this thing that I believe in each one teach 10. That means each one person can teach 10, and those 10 people can share knowledge with the rest 10 as it gets multiplied by 10. And the biggest weapon to change, I've said this plenty of times, is knowledge. And with each one teach 10, we can make this chain more beautiful and impactful to achieve the UN goals. And I hope, like with this motto, people can spread it, and we should use tech for good and be a digit kid and also an impactor, wherein you can impact other people's life positively by using your knowledge and sharing it with them. Because since the beginning, I've never kept my knowledge confined to myself. I love sharing, like, even if I learned a small thing, I would say, Mama, I learned this today. And that's how, like, it started to sharing it with other people. So you can use many things. You can use game-based learning and all these things. But unless you share it with other people, and unless you're not staying humble, you need to do that. Actually, I must say that you need to stay humble and you need to share your knowledge with others, because it is not just for improving the other person, but it is also about improving yourself. You learn various skills. You just don't think that you're improving the other person. You're improving yourself, because that's where you learn empathy, you learn collaboration skills, you learn the 4 C's, and also you become grounded.
I mean, wow, that is really, a very good way to look at things, like serving others, serving society, and ultimately gaining from those, learnings which you get along the way. So that is really, really, really great. And I'm really grateful that you are doing such a, noble work of educating.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, so this unfortunately brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Namya, for sharing your valuable insights and experience with us. I learned a lot from today's discussion and I'm really inspired. And I'm sure
Thank you.
listeners would have as well. Thank you once again and best of luck for the future.
Thank you so much.